there used to be a famed expression. There's a new sheriff in town. And what was once acceptable and lawlessness would no longer be accepted. And that's pretty much what that expression meant throughout all of history. There's a new leader in town in the United States, or back in town, and he's not like he was back in 2016. He knows the game. He studied the game. And he isn't playing with anybody for any reason at any time. He may be the most unconventional modern day president, but I got to tell you, from fake red lines, and if you don't respond, the repercussions are going to be unimaginable. Having the world almost on edge, whether it's the most recent reciprocal tax, the Saturday 12 noon deadline, you're going to carpet bomb us, we're going to obliterate you. And the world is no longer going, well, it's just Biden, it's just Obama. Now, this guy, they are terrified of, and I really think they are. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network. My name's Stuart Brisgell. That's David Solomon. And this is a podcast that's unfiltered, unapologetic discussion, hosted by just the two of us for the last over now 4 years, going on our fifth. We tackle a diverse range of topics with candid conversations, bold opinions, whether it's breaking down the latest headlines, as we just said, exploring pop culture, debating politics, or delving into complexities of modern life. We gather our things from every perspective. So grab a seat, settle in, and join us on this journey. It's another thought-provoking conversation. And David, I know you got lots of opinions, but let's hear it.
No, me an opinion? No, that's not possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, we're sitting here Valentine's Day. Now, it's Valentine's Day in a lot of parts of the world, but it's not Valentine's Day in Israel. Israel has its own day for love, by the way. And it's not today. And it'll be later in the summer. And I got to tell you something. The people have been waiting for their loved ones to come home. 500 plus days as a hostage. It's sickening. But look what happened in the White House with the changeover. And you could hate Donald Trump. And you could just, if you really want to get a feel of what hating Donald Trump's all about, watch the Democrats, watch MSNBC, watch CNN. They're unapologetic about the way they treat Donald Trump. They don't care about how they just want to take him down. But the American population has loved what he has done overall. I'm not going to say everything, but overall, they've really loved what he has done. Because with swift moves in less than a month, Donald Trump has changed the world, not just the U.S. And you could complain about tariffs, and I'm not going to go there. But let's just talk about world order. Vladimir Zelensky and Putin are talking. There's suddenly this conversation about a real ceasefire, end of war. Under Biden, it was talk. Under Biden, there was a lot of BS and exchanges and words that meant nothing. But this time around, holy moly. Now, people want to also talk about the fact that he's secured the border better. To be determined. Let's see what happens. I know on the U.S. side, possibly, and what they've done under Tom Homan and company. And we've seen now that all the nominations are finally coming through, and we'll see the changes that'll happen. We see Doge, we see all these things. But there's one place I'm going to focus you on today, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the Middle East. And the reason is because of two things that have occurred. One, the realization that the U.S. government has been duping you big time. With Doge exposing money being sent to terrorists, there was no wonder that whatever words came out of the White House had no meaning. Do as I say, but when I send you the money, do whatever you want to do. And there was no wonder there was anarchy in the Middle East. When you send $100 million to terrorists, beautiful. And Joe Biden could sit there today in his Delaware home and said, wasn't me. I didn't know anything. That's not true. They're lying. Donald Trump's a bastard. He's a threat to democracy. The threat to democracy, ladies and gentlemen, came from the people who sent money to terrorists. Let me say that again. The threat to democracy came from the people who sent money to terrorists. And that was your taxpayers' money that went to the hands of Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, all of these groups. But what CNN and MSNBC are not saying a word about it because it's okay. But let me take a different stance, folks. Under Joe Biden, he said, you must return the hostages. That's Joe Biden, one of Jim Henson's Muppets. There's nobody there. Everybody around the world knew Biden's going to do nothing. And while he let Israel do whatever she wanted to do and defend herself, which was the best part of this war, Joe Biden on one hand said to Netanyahu, do what you got to do, but I'm going to try to control you. But on the other hand, I'm going to fund your enemies. It's exactly what he did. Fund the enemies. This perpetual war to create this anarchy, to create this, only about to get votes. It wasn't about resolution, folks. And every time they threw this BS statement of a two-state solution, it was just to further the problem. So earlier this week, Hamas announced Israel's breaching the ceasefire. We're not going to return any hostages. To hell with you. It was refreshing to hear out of the White House. Donald Trump said, you're going to return by noon Eastern all the hostages, or we're going to let Israel basically let hell loose. Now, if that was Joe Biden, it would be, well, we have to have a discussion about a two-state solution, and we need to have a resolution, and all the rest of the shit. And here is Donald Trump saying, nope, you don't listen, we're going to screw with you. And when the Houthis woke up and said, oh, well, if the ceasefire is broken, we're going to continue firing, Donald Trump goes, no, you're not. Stay in your lane, because I'm going to bomb the crap out of you too. And as a result, Stuart, tomorrow, God willing, U.S.-Israeli Sagi Dekelchen, E.L. Horn, and Russian-Israeli Sasha Alexander Trufanov are the three hostages scheduled to be released. Now, Donald Trump said all the hostages. We don't really know that we meant all the rest of the 70-odd hostages, or he really meant the three that were on schedule. We'll find out in about 24 hours or so what the message will be out of the White House.
Yep.
But Stuart, when you said new sheriff in town, damn straight. This new sheriff is really laying down the law, and it's about freaking time, my friend.
You know, David, the reality is the open-ended statement that Donald Trump made from the Oval Office and the reality in the Middle East is that what was for 70 years will not continue anymore. The regular norm is over. And that's non-negotiable, it seems, with this White House. I believe also that Donald Trump didn't say the Israelis can have at it. I think Donald Trump said there'll be hell to pay if they're not out, which infers maybe the U.S. has had enough. I think the world saw this last tranche of victims that the terrorists held, where United Nations, Red Cross, and every aid organization was silent about, looked eerily no different than those that were saved from Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen. They all looked like that and worse. But the reminder of what these neo-Nazis are doing, called Palestinians, called Houthis, called terrorists, that if this was in the United States, if this was in Canada, this would not be accepted. Reality is, former government in charge, I don't think Biden actually even understood what was going on. You know, in 1988, he plagiarized a speech. And in 2024, I don't think he remembered that he gave that speech. It's sad. Today, you have people in the street arguing for supporting cement factories for Gaza, which built tunnels of terror from U.S. tax dollars. Now, this is now being exposed. We don't know. Maybe the Canadian government was just as complicit, and they had some organization that did the same thing. We don't know yet. We hope that in March there'll be a change of government, and there'll be an Elon Musk in Canada as well.
We're not having it in March, but anyways, go on.
Say that again?
Forget about Canada, Stuart. Let's finish about Donald, please.
I'm talking about the world, Israel, and Donald J. Trump. I hope that we find out on Saturday that there wasn't an air swoosh, and that Donald J. Trump sends a message that the world hears. Iran is ahead of the snake. That's it. You know, as much as the Palestinians are being trained as neo-Nazis, it's Iran that's doing this. And Donald Trump knows this. The world knows this. But is the world going to respond behind Donald Trump? And I think the answer is today more yes than ever before.
You know, Stuart, I got to tell you, the world is down on Trump with what he's doing overtly, like in public. You know, former Prime Minister Harper, very interesting gentleman, you know, he's gone around on various speeches, and he said he's unapologetic about the fact he stands with Israel. He stands on the side of humanity. And one of the interesting comments he said was during his time when he was as Prime Minister, as he stood with Israel, leaders around the world said to him, you know, it took a lot of fortitude for you to stand with Israel because I can't in my country. I'll get voted out. And he says, yeah, I want to stand with it. People said they want to stand with Israel, but they're afraid. This is what's happened, people. Their political lives matter more than the right thing to do. Humanity is being swayed. And when you have a strong leader saying, we're not going to tolerate this, look what happens. And it's interesting because, you know, Stuart, unfortunately, a few days ago, Shlomo Mansour, the oldest hostage held by Hamas, a Holocaust survivor, was found dead. Apparently, he was killed on October the 7th, and they held on to his body as a negotiation plot. Now, if you're sitting here today with half a fucking brain, I'm asking myself, what is wrong with you to believe that holding dead bodies as a form of negotiation is humane? But the Biden administration knew this, did nothing. The Trump administration, in 3 weeks, has come down with a rain of fire saying, we're not tolerating this crap. Enough. The world needs humanity. And instead, what we're going to focus on is that Donald Trump's a brute, that Donald Trump is mean to CNN, that Donald Trump says bad words. We're going to focus on all those things because that's what ratings are all about. Ratings for the media is more important than human lives. A Jew is not important. That's what you got today. A Jew is not important. And when you let things like what we saw at the Super Bowl, Kanye West's commercial on Fox selling swastika t-shirts, and no one says a word, that's your society today. That's what Donald Trump was elected to change. And when you I'm going to move a little bit this conversation just a little bit this way, because we're going to talk about the trends and this and all the crying and the whining over here. But for crying out loud, you've normalized anti-Semitism again. And Donald Trump is sitting in the White House going, no. And this is what he has done. The new sheriff in town is trying to bring people back away from this ridiculous thought. Because you know, if you can accept, and look what happens to it. You had hostages coming back from Venezuela, Russia recently, and the media's ignored it. But when Biden brought back Brittany Griner, a basketball player, and what he traded for to get her back, it was praised as, oh, look at our president. Good God, people. Would you stop with the politics? And I know I'm being delusional. But enough with this BS politics and BS belief that Trump can do no right. For God's sake, look what he's doing. He's making society better. Not the way you want it to be. I get it. But imagine if it was your relative who was kidnapped, and for 500 days, the Red Cross refused to help you. The governments refused to help you find your loved one to see if they're alive. Imagine Shlomo Mansour's family, who this week found out after 500 days that their relative was dead.
I can't even imagine, David. I can't even imagine. And we talked about this in the previous podcast. Listen, at the end of the day, we'll see what Saturday 12 noon looks like. and what the next word from the President of the United States, which is actually his word, unapologetic, no different than what we're trying to provide. And that brings us to a close for another episode of the Rant Network. We truly appreciate you tuning in and sharing your thoughts and time with us. This engagement and your support mean the world to foster an open, honest, and thought-provoking conversation. Don't forget, as we are every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, stay connected with us through our social media channels and let us know your thoughts, questions. It helps shape this community. The numbers are getting bigger. We're starting to put clips up. Please like them, heart them, thumb up them. We understand that you may not want to have time for the comment, but we really need your support. So stay tuned, guys. David, I think it's time you say, see you later.
What are we going to ruin?